Today's topic is all about estimating square roots to the nearest hundreds. This is week 7. Before we begin our discussion for this week's topic, let us recall first the principal and root of a number. Okay? So when you say the principal and root of a positive number is the positive end root, while the principal and root of a negative number is the negative end root if n is odd. Tandaan natin na kapag yung radicand natin ay positive, positive din yung end root na ibibigay natin. At kapag yung radicand natin ay negative, negative din yung magiging principal root niya. Pero tatandaan natin, dapat yung ating index, ang value niya ay odd number. Bawal siya kapag even number ang ating index. So ngayon, suriin natin yung mga different examples na meron tayo. Una, the square root of 121. Paano yun naging 11? Kasi pagka kinukuha ang root ng isang number, katulad nito, titignan natin kung anong index niya. Pag walang nakasulat, automatically that is 2. So, mag-iisip kayo ng number na kapag minultiply sa sarili niya ng 2 beses, magre-resulta dun sa value ng ating radicand. So, anong number yon? 11. 11 times 11 is 121. Kaya ang ating principal root is 11. Second example, square root of 400. No, anong number ang multiply sa sarili na magiging 400? 20 ang sagot. Because 20 times 20 is equal to 400. Last example, the square root of 9 is equal to 3. Paano nangyari yon? You have to think of a number that when multiplied by itself twice, will result to the given number, which is 9. So that would be 3 times 3 is equal to 9. So take note that we only take its positive root. Why? Because we are talking about the principal and root of a positive number. Let us examine the other examples. Here, we could see that the radicand is now negative. So, let us try to find the principal and root of a negative number. No, titignan natin na kapag ang principal and root ang hinahanap natin at ang number ay negative, ang magiging sagot natin o ang makukuha nating principal and root ay negative din. As long as ang ating index ay odd number. Kasi kapag hindi yan odd number, no, ang mangyari, there is no such root that exists. No, walang existing root para sa negative number na ang index ay even number. Kailangan odd number lang siya. So, halimbawa, the cube root of negative 8 is negative 2. Paano nangyari yun? You have to think of a number when multiplied 3 times by itself will result to negative 8. So, that would be negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. And yung second example naman, the cube root of negative 125. Since negative na naman siya, so again, negative din yung naging principal and root natin. And laging titignan na ang negative radicand ay inaalaw natin sa mga odd numbered indices. Okay, yung last example is the fifth root of negative 3,125. The answer is negative 5. Let us take note that the principal and root of a negative number whose index is an odd number is the negative nth root. Okay, question. How can we determine if the given square root is a rational or an irrational number? Madali lang yun mga anak. Una, sabi dito, the given square root is a rational number if the radicand, yung number sa loob ng ating radical symbol, is a perfect square. Dapat titignan natin kung siya ba ay perfect square na number. Otherwise, kapag hindi, it is an irrational number. So, let us try to answer the given example. So, is 100 a perfect square? Yes. Bakit siya naging perfect square? Because 100 is a product of 10 times 10. So, that would be equal to 10 squared. Diba? So, ang root ng ating tanong, which is square root of 100, is 10. And dahil perfect square siya ay tatawagin nating o i-consider nating rational number. Is 8 a perfect square? Diba, alam natin yung mga perfect square, yung product ng number na minultiply sa sarili niya. 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 3 is 9. So, wala tayong nakitang 8 doon. Therefore, hindi siya perfect square number. So, lalagay natin, not a perfect square. So, therefore, kung hindi siya perfect square, siya ay considered as, very good, irrational. How about the square root of 225? Okay, so the square root of 225 is 15 times 15. So, 15 times 15 is equivalent to 15 squared. And getting the square root of 15 squared, we get 15. So, perfect square siya kasi product siya ng ng number na minultiply sa sarili niya ng twice. So, siya ay tinatawag din nating rational number. 81. Yes, 81 is also a perfect square kasi siya ay product ng 9 na tinimes sa sarili niya ng twice. So, that would be 9 squared. At si 9 squared, kapag kinuha natin yung kanyang, yung kinuha natin square root ni 81, matatanggal yung square, matatanggal yung radical symbol. Diba? Ang matitira na lang is si 9. So, yan yung root o yan yung principal root ng square root of 81. And dahil perfect square siya ay considered as rational. Eh si 42, perfect square ba? Okay, 6 times 6, 36. 7 times 7 is 49. So, walang 42 doon. So, that is considered as not a perfect square. At dahil hindi siya perfect square, siya ay tatawagin natin o i-consider nating irrational number. Okay, yun lang siya. Ang next task natin is, how can we find the two consecutive integers between which the given square root lies? So, hahanapin natin yon. Meron tayong dalawang step na gagawin. Una, i-identify natin yung dalawang perfect square na malapit sa kanya. Makakakita tayo ng perfect square before and after sa kanya. Pagkatapos natin makita yung dalawang perfect square kung saan siya napapagitnaan or kung saan siya nakapagitan, no, ang susunod natin gagawin is to take the square roots of the perfect square before and after the given radical. No? Titingnan natin kung ano yon. And after natin makuha yung roots, ma-identify na natin kung between what two consecutive integers natin siya matatagpuan. So, try na natin sagutan tong given problem na to. Okay, the given problem is a square root of 120. So, sa pagitan ng anong dalawang perfect squares, natin matatagpuan si 120. So, ang pinakamalapit sa kanya is si 100. Okay? And si 100 less than siya kay 120. At ang ano naman yung perfect square after ni 120, that would be 121. Ano yung susunod nating step? Ang susunod nating step is to get their square root, di ba? So, square root yan, square root dito. The square root of 100 is 10. Okay, that would be 10 is less than the square root of 120. And the square root of 120 is lesser than the square root of 121, which is 11. Okay, so we can find the square root of 120 between 10 and 11. So, doon natin siya matatagpuan. Okay? So, subukan pa natin yung iba pang mga examples. Next example is the square root of 85. So, sa anong dalawang perfect square siya matatagpuan? Sa pagitan ng anong dalawang perfect square siya matatagpuan? So, that would be 81. And because 81 is less than 85. Ano naman yung perfect square after ni 85? That would be 100. Ano yung kasunod na gagawin natin? Okay? Ang gagawin natin is to take their square roots. No? Tinake natin square roots ng 81 which is 9. And that would be less than the square root of 85. And the square root of 85 will be less than the square root of 100, which is 10. So, saan natin siya matatagpuan? Between 9 and 10. Ganun lang siya kasimple. Okay? So, doon naman tayo susunod nating example. The example tells us to find between what two consecutive integers can we find the square root of 229. So, hanapin natin yung perfect square before and after 229. So, that would be 225. That is less than 229, right? And 229 is less than 256. So, ang next step natin, syempre, is to take their square roots. Diba? Kuha natin yung mga square root nila. So, the square root of 225 is 15. It's less than the square root of 229. And the square root of 229 is less than the square root of 256, which is 16. So, we can find the square root of 229 between 15 and 16. Nasa pagitan siya ng dalawang number na yan. This is our fourth example. Okay, let us try to find between what two consecutive integer can we find the square root of 51. So, saan siya malapit? Anong dalawang perfect square number yon? So, that would be 49 is less than 51 and 51 is less than 64. So, let us take their square root. Yun yung second step natin para makita natin kung between what two consecutive integers siya matatagpuan. The square root of 49 is 7. That would be 7 is less than square root of 51. And square root of 51 is less than the square root of 64, which is 8. So, saan siya natagpuan? Sa pagitan nila 7 and 8. As easy as that. Okay? Now, down to our last example. That would be where what two consecutive integers can we find the square root of 42. So, ano kaya yun? Saan bang siyang perfect squares malapit? So, that would be 6 times 6, which is 36. Okay? 36 is less than 42. And 42 is less than 49, which is 7 times 7. Now, the second step is to get their square roots, diba? So, pag kinuha natin yung square roots nila, makukuha natin yung anong square root ng 36? 6. 6 is less than the square root of 42, and the square root of 42 is less than the square root of 49, which is 7. So, si square root of 42 ay matatagpuan sa pagitan ni 6 and 7. Ganun lang siya kadali. Okay, tandaan natin kung ano yung dalawang step na dadaanan nyo para ma-identify nyo yung dalawang consecutive integers kung saan nandoon sa pagitan nila yung given radical. Thank you for watching.